Hello, Internet amigos. Oh, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner has fallen out of the sky in India. Oh, just remind you of two Malaysian airliners or those two 737 Boeings that lost control. Remind you of anything? I'm going to do a proper voiceover. This is worth it. Absolutely worth the voiceover. You know, I just wrote here, Trump slays the little brown people dragon. What? No bankers arrested. So it's quite a spectacle. I await the ICE raids on Wall Street to remove all the Unit 8200 lawyers that infest there, as well as the technical specialists. Will ICE raid Boeing? I posted this yesterday. Will ICE raid Boeing and remove all the Telpiot and Unit 8200 program pretend Russian Jews from the network there, implanting their remote software? Yeah. Whitney Webb never told you about this article. The entire Israeli press has been screaming for 15 fucking years, 2008, 2009. What an interesting time frame. James Bamford screaming, Brendon screaming. Interesting time. General Jim Jones and Shadowgate begins in earnest, 2008. Interesting year, 2008. Like 1973 is an interesting year. FBI source in Russia probe called Israelis fucking spies who should be killed. This is the Times of Israel. DOJ releases transcript of source speaking with George Papadopoulos, who was probed by Mueller over his ties to Israel, which includes references to the, quote, the Mossad fake Russian Jews. That was 2020. Whitney, did you send that article? We sent it to you 700 times along with 700 other articles. It's quite a sad, pathetic show, blah, 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 blah. Okay, no dangerous criminals from Wall Street are going to be deported. This is the crisis acting. And so now we go to this.
Return to the air crash, the Air India crash at Ahmedabad. That's in Gujarat province. It's just north of Mumbai, going towards the Pakistan border. Shocking scenes. I'm joined now by Patrick Crises of GB News London because, of course, this flight was bound for Britain. Patrick, what can you tell us?
Okay, so the flight is a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner. As far as I can see, it's the first 787 that has ever crashed. It's carrying 242...
Let's talk. Chris Boleyn, ICTS. What is ICTS? It handles airport security all around the world, including all the 9/11 airports, and still do to this day. They were founded by the Shin Bet. They are based in Amsterdam, which is convenient because Amsterdam's a home of cocaine into Europe and also the home of the ecstasy trade and meth, big time. So that's convenient airport security. Also, all these big Israeli companies handle, all the conversions of airliners to have to convert them into cargo planes and also convert them into fuel carriers, tankers. Well, you know where that's been done in Israel for the last 30 years. So everyone says, well, they don't have any tankers. Yes, they do have tankers. In fact, they do the conversions, which is why you saw a tanker converted 767 flying into the World Trade Center, Israeli. They're in Bogota, Colombia, aren't they, Sean Ryan? We used to hang out doing the conversions, putting extra fuel tanks and, of course, cargo space for all the drugs that are exported around the world. So it'll be the same people and, of course, Chris Boleyn, and I'm going to do a voiceover. I'm going to get onto it today because it's worth it. Chris Boleyn goes into the Israeli companies that put all the FAA computer ins. He goes into Amit Yaran, who did all the radar stuff, all the Telpiot program graduates. No one says Telpiot. They all say Unit 8200. They will not say Telpiot program. That gives the game away, and on and on. So this is the fraud and the bullshit we continue to watch unfold. If you want the truth, go to Telpiot. Give me all your effing money. I'll try and get coffee mugs and T-shirts happening so I can get as much cash out of you as possible, and I'll still, in my sleep, there is more truth in my fucking big pus-ridden, fungus-ridden toenail than in these whores online. This was Israel, just as like when the first Malaysian aircraft went down. Do you remember? Over Russia? Well, guess where Brendon was going just before that happened? We were organising to go to Iran with good old Mark Glenn. I was going to share a room with Ken O'Keefe if he wasn't high on drugs back then. This is 2014. I was just out of jail. Remember, did my hunger strike. Former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has welcomed me with, quote, open arms. I will be welcomed with open arms in Iran. I've got out of jail. I've made that brilliant 600-page initial High Court synopsis. This was before the big one, the UN document, the 600 pages, where we go into all the Israeli spying, all of that good stuff. Okay, we're getting ready to go. Suddenly, Mark Glenn gets told, he's devastated. Mark Glenn was devastated. He said they are, because Iran's complicated. There's multiple groups fighting, just like everywhere else. And he said that with this new Rouhani government, they have claimed he was a spy and they wouldn't let him in. I said, so I'm not going in. So after all that struggle, all that hunger strikes, all that shit I've been through, we don't even get to go. And he said, yeah, he was devastated, totally devastated. It was Mark Glenn. Just after that, he went and got Michael Collins Piper, picked him up after his heart operation, his stents he had. The roof caught fire and they had to, the stove, Mark assured me there was nothing. It was just one of those freaky things. We had to take him to a hotel while we repaired the cabin. It was only going to be a few days. And he died in the hotel. Mark Glenn then went completely Fruit Loopy. You know, you saw Candace Owens interviewing Phil Tawney. Well, Phil Tawney and former Green Beret and legend, good old Joe Cortina, made video statements for my trial. So Phil Tawney, the Liberty survivor who was on Candace Owens, knows who I am, knows what 9/11's about. No, Israel did 9/11. No mention of nothing. Nothing. All right, Joe Cortina went crazy and said he will never speak to me again if I criticize Adolf Hitler. And Joe Cortina, who I used to like a legend, I couldn't wait to meet him, Green Beret, sounds like John Wayne. He goes, if you ever insult Adolf Hitler again, that great man, and he went, I'll never speak to you again. And then he said something like, I will kill every Jew, man, woman, child, and baby until my trigger finger gets sore. Then Mark Glenn is promoting Stalin as a good guy and Hitler, just overnight. And I'm sitting there going, I considered Mark Glenn like a brother. And I said, what the fuck are you all doing? This is insane. And that was the end of that. That was the end of that. And they're all pro-Putin. And so was I in 2014. And they're still to this day, I don't know what their view is. Anyway, this was the madness that went on. So I'm sitting there, what the hell? Then Russia shoots down the first jet. I'm about to leave for Malaysia. They've got me I've been under gag orders for 2 years. They've got 3 charges against me, threats to kill a prison officer, making a private telephone call public, resisting it, just crap, total fucking crap, disorderly conduct. They were just throwing charge after charge after charge. Hamid Fadaroli said, Iran Press TV will do a documentary on you. The police were just raiding me nonstop. I'm out of jail. Sorry, that was after. The first plane goes down as I'm planning on going to Malaysia to get out of Australia. I was literally on my way to the Malaysian consulate in Perth. And Malaysia and Australia are actually very close. They fight the governments, but the people are very close. There's exchange programs for nursing and medicine and all sorts. And the AFP love them. Very close, very close. So I thought, oh shit, well, there's no point. I'd made no connections at this stage, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not connecting it with Iran. I'm not connecting it with Israel and Intel. The first plane gets shot down. And of course, the Malaysian consulate's going to be busy because there are actually quite a few West Australians and Australians on that flight, over 20 or 30. Our Jesuit Prime Minister, Tony Abbott's screaming, who I was invited out with, I might add, later in the year, in October. This was June, I think, just before I went to Sydney. Sorry, I may be getting the times wrong. Forgive me if I'm getting times and dates mixed up. So I then decide, well, I'm going to go to the consulate. And I walked in and I said, I'm sorry, I know you're really busy with all this stuff. This was like a week after it happened. And there was a lot of people in there. And she said, look, my name's Brendon O'Connell. Is there any chance I can speak with the head of a consulate? She looked up and went, like she knew who I was. She walked into the room next door and she said, please come in. They saw me immediately. There's all these people lined up, all looking at me as I walked straight in the door. And he shook my hand, put his phone on the table. He was clearly recording. I said, look, they're mad. I said, I know there's all this stuff going on, but, I've got to get Malaysia. They just keep raiding me. They've gag orders on me. It's insanity. And because I'm still not grasping the profundity of it. I mean, I sort of knew it in my head, but my heart hadn't quite connected. And he said, look, you don't need asylum or anything. You can just fly to Malaysia and go in. And you have a 3 months. And he said, fly in and then decide what you want to do. So I go, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, why don't I wait? Just plead guilty to everything. Just say, yeah, guilty. Because remember, I'm getting the times wrong. No, I hadn't been recharged. Sorry, I had not been recharged at that stage. That came after October. So this is around June. So I'm going to Sydney and I'm still debating what to do. So I'm in Sydney and we'll go, Louis, let's go after the Gaza rallies. I said, Louis, let's go to the Iranian embassy in Canberra. So we went for a trip. Now I've got all that footage. You haven't seen it, but I'm going to edit that up as well. So I went into the embassy and I got to speak briefly with the consular official. Came out and sat with me, very friendly. And I wrote up a 6-page letter while I was there and said, look, this is madness what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I can't remember his words. It was along the lines of, look, just go. Just get to Iran. Like he was just, without saying overtly. We were in a crowded room. There were lots of Iranians in there in the Canberra. This is June, July 2014. Oh, so sorry, no. Before we went to Canberra, I'm emailing Mark Glenn. So I'm just getting times a bit mixed up. And I've still got the screenshot on Google Talk or whatever it was. Google Talk, like Google Meet. But it was the talk bit. It said, yeah, I'm going to go to the embassy. The next day, the next Malaysian aircraft disappeared off radar. I'm thinking, holy shit, that's a bit of a coincidence. Am I getting this right? Sorry, times, the dates, but it's pretty close. So forgive me if I'm getting details wrong. So that one disappears. I'm thinking, gee, how interesting. Scratching my head. Wait a minute, have I got them the wrong way around? Which was the first one, the one that disappeared or the one shot down over Russia? Regardless, we'll get it right. That was the second time that I was planning on doing something and something major happened, which you would only ever connect to yourself if you were grandiose and delusional. But given the gravitas of everything that had happened, I don't think I'm being delusional at all. I then write this article and the next day Boeing is falling out of the sky. Mary's been talking to people from Boeing. Mary's been talking to people from Microsoft about Israel. I absolutely believe it's linked. I absolutely believe this is part of the warfare. I absolutely believe Israel has done this with that Boeing aircraft. And it may be something to do with less about me, but more about India and the emerging relationship between America and India or something like that. But I urge you to understand that the issue is so big, it's beyond me. I just happened to pick it up. I had a dream a while ago when it first started. I was in the Wild West. It was muddy and it was raining, but I was dressed in my usual, I had my backpack, my cargo shorts, my keen sandals and my blue floppy hat. And I was in this Wild West and the main road was all dirt and muddy, women in the old way they used to dress in the Wild West. And they were trying to walk through the mud. And over near where the horses are tied up near the saloon, there's a horse and there's something like a brown package under its hooves and it's kicking it away. And as it kicks it, it's brown paper packaging, very plain brown paper. And it's like a cliche diamond shape, large as a soccer ball. And I think, what's this? And I walk over and I pick it up and I could see where the brown paper wrapping is ripped. I pull it open and the light bursts through and half blinds me and burns my forehead, burns my area here of my eyes. And what the hell? It's so bright. I realize it's a giant diamond. It's a huge diamond. And I go, what the hell? Now, I don't know why this is set in the Wild West and it's muddy and raining and the Wild West, Western Australia, I guess. I don't know. Well, the dream kind of fades and now I'm a very old man and I've taken the diamond, unwrapped it, and I can stand the light and I put it in a lighthouse. And I'm up there by myself, grey beard, I'm really old. And all these people have gathered, a huge crowd have gathered around the lighthouse. And I'm going, what the fuck? That was my dream. I just picked it up. It's the truth. And the truth will set us free and it will be our guide. There can be no more political games, 9/11 or bust. The test of the United States is the immediate investigation into 9/11, calling Chris Bollin. They're getting worried because MAGA is revolting and they've got to shore up their support base. The elites are getting upset, just like they released a virus. They're starting to worry, and I have absolutely zero doubt that Israel did not put that Boeing aircraft straight into the ground. This time a voiceover is coming, and I'm now convinced they're switching the lights off where I am, the small area. It's just this small area of the city I'm in. And I said, is this normal? I said, well, we have blackouts because it's hot and humid or the aircon comes on. But he said, it's the lights are 100 meters away are all on. Why is it here? Just here. And then there's lights across the fucking road. So you tell me. Something very strange. Every time I get to work, the lights go out. That happened in Techis. It would happen. People even said, geez, you turn up and all the lights start going out. It used to go out occasionally. Now it's going out every fucking day. That's why I ended up getting the solar panels. I was so sick of it. Funny that, but we don't want to get too grandiose. Anyway, Israel bought that Boeing aircraft down. Let's face it. Talk soon. But I'm going to do a proper voiceover. Chris Bollin is the legend, the legend, the legend. It's very sad what happened between him, Darryl Bradford Smith, and Eric Kushmit. Very sad. Eric got in touch recently and was shooting him. Said he's in Sweden somewhere. Thanks, Eric. Oh, those were the days. I just glow. Even though the fights were real, people were real, people didn't get along. But you know what? No one would sacrifice the truth. Nobody would dare. But here we sit today. Israel bought down that aircraft 100%. Israel, City of London. Right? They're remote shutting down. This is well documented by Chris Bollin. Whitney Webb will not tell you. James Corbett will not tell you. None of those whores will tell you a damn thing. It's time it ended. It's going to end this year. I promise you this year, a lot of changes are going to happen. And you cannot support Donald Trump as long as he is surrounded by these whores, these 9/11 whores. Every single person around Donald Trump was directly involved in 9/11 and the cover-up. And MAGA has to say, no mas, basta, no more. That's the end. Let's talk again real soon.